Now, when Boko Haram, a little bit on Boko Haram, when Boko Haram was established it first started in 2009, but after that, Boko Haram, founded by a certain person called Mohammed Yusuf, got exterminated and was shut down by the then president of Nigeria, um, Umar Yaradua, before he passed away. Now, under this current government, for 6 years, Boko Haram has came back. A whole new Boko Haram 2, as I call it, suddenly appeared under the presidency of Goodluck Jonathan, who has been in power for the last 6 years. And this new Boko Haram has had some very, very amazing and miraculous success. This new Boko Haram was orchestrated, and as we can see in this report from WikiLeaks, this is in an article in on ENDS, on our organization website. This person, Abu Majin, was reported here. WikiLeaks says that's from Julian Assange's information from, United States intelligence information. A well-trained veteran Chadian extremist, Abu Majin, terrorist identities number, who has limited ties to Al-Qaeda, recently traveled to Nigeria to facilitate some terrorist operations. So this was when people moved in from Chad and took advantage of the vacuum after the Boko Haram had been wiped out by Yaradua government, and came in, allowed and ignored by Nigeria's president, to operate and design this new terrorist organization who were going to annihilate the population of the Northeast. So whoever wants to annex that resource-rich area could go ahead and do that. So this was a sudden meeting which was held between Nigeria's president, the president of Chad, Idris Deby, and a named Boko Haram sponsor, an ex-governor of Borno State, who has been accused of far-reaching dealings and sponsorship of the terrorists. And in this meeting, suddenly after this meeting, these presidents declared a ceasefire, which is now globally known as a sham ceasefire. And the ceasefire actually was set up to allow Boko Haram regroup and re-strengthen to continue its mission. So there's a lot of suspicious activity going on with these people involved. But the global world is basically paying no attention, because the president of Chad, Idris Deby, helps them supposedly with some operations in Central African Republic. So even though he conducts genocides there and the army has shot on and killed people in the market, the world kind of allows this guy to continue doing the stuff that he does, tampering with the region, and just, focuses on France or wherever else and does like it doesn't see these things going on. Now, there actually has been a lot of evidence of Chad and Cameroon sponsoring Boko Haram. In this article, Sahara reporters actually reported that Cameroon paid $400,000 to Boko Haram and promised them arms and ammunition, which would be delivered to them in the battlefield as part of a so-called deal to release some hostages. Now, the Chadian president, Idris Deby, promised that he was going to make sure these weapons get delivered to them, to Boko Haram fighters in the battlefield, according to the report. As we go on examining the links and role of Chad in this Boko Haram successful reign of carnage on Nigeria, what we see is, this is another article in Tribune, one of the top dailies, which says Chad president buys 19 surface-to-air missiles for Boko Haram. So a certain official and friend of an associate of Chadian president, Mr. Gnoti, was caught at the Sudanese border bringing in 19 surface-to-air missiles, which he said the president of Chad, Idris Deby, had given him clearance to bring in, import, and give to Boko Haram terrorists. We can see more of that report. That report is all over the news. That's Idris Deby. And there's a lot to say about that, but I'm trying to just lay down the different features as simply as possible. As we continue to look at the different resources at the center of Boko Haram, this article of November 9th in Leadership gives some more detail that the riddle was allegedly solved by a former Senate President, Iyor Chia Ayu, who described that the oil well behind the Chad Basin is fanning the embers of the insurgency, and you also have the drying up of Lake Chad, once the largest water bodies affecting economic activity of 30 million people in the 4 countries, and this has resulted in migration and stuff. So there's lots of evidence. Evidence keeps on increasing and increasingly showing how resource control and a conflict with Nigeria's neighbors having interest in Nigeria and Nigeria's resources is at the head of this successful Boko Haram terror campaign that the world is ignoring. Recently, an article on December 25th last year showed how all the different things being stolen by Boko Haram in Nigeria as Boko Haram continues to annex this area are being sent to Chad. And Boko Haram goes to Chad. Boko Haram has never yet conducted any terrorist operations in Chad, but it successfully and easily just goes in, takes its people in, and brings people from here on and on. More media articles have pointed to this same usual suspect, and in this article, we see that Chadian Boko Haram mercenaries were allegedly annexing Nigerian villages and are the ones who are operating the cords as Boko Haram keeps taking over this area. Because it's very important to mention or to point out that if what we read in the media had any element of truth in it, and that Boko Haram was trying to set up some kind of, quote, Islamic caliphate. A caliphate does not exist where you have no people. So why would Boko Haram exterminate the population of Baga, which is almost 100% Muslim? Why would they exterminate everybody there, the very people who are going to fish and farm and give them food to eat? Why would that population be exterminated if Boko Haram was actually trying to establish a caliphate? All that is hogwash. It's complete hogwash that the media is feeding us to keep us blinded to the true facts of it. At the center of this is a francophone, well-orchestrated decision to annex and occupy and destroy the north of Nigeria. And Nigeria's leadership is working in suit with them because some of these things help and assist his political interests. So this is the president of Chad, Idris Deby, and this is the president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan. So when we think of Boko Haram, the first thing we see is Chad, French-speaking Chad's interest in Nigeria, the direct role of the Chadian leadership sponsoring Boko Haram. We also see French interests in Africa, coincidentally the same France where 12 people were killed right when 2,000 people were killed in Nigeria and the world conveniently did not notice. At the head of it, we also see European interests in Africa as the Chadian president is supported, sponsored, and protected by both French and Western interests. Next, we see a problem with the Nigerian leadership where Nigeria's president has cooperated with these foreign partners due to coincident interests. He has utilized Boko Haram as a means of tarnishing his political opponents, and this was one of the things he used in 2011 to gain his first electoral victory even though things are changing now as the people are getting more aware. So when we look at the Boko Haram crisis, it's a crisis of betrayal and a problem of the masses who are being subjected to this type of unseen of, unheard of, malicious, and unconscionable denial of the right to life, the right to security, and the right to the pursuit of happiness and progress by a 1% local and global leadership.